Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be when you care too much. Well, I got an email here from a viewer who's basically found himself in this very situation where he was putting more effort into the person that he was dating than he was actually getting back from her as far as effort and mutual respect, making him feel like she was actually into him. And this is I talked to a lot of men and women, and men and women both are guilty of doing this, where we get into a relationship with somebody and we end up projecting our fantasy onto this person, and yet we ignore all the red flags and all the obvious signs that this other person is just not feeling the same way, and we think we just kind of stay the course, that eventually that person will come around, because hey, we've all seen that in thousands of movies and TV shows, and when you watch that over and over and over again, that same kind of theme from the time you're a kid and you grow up, you can't help but have that affect you. You can't help but have that affect your belief system, especially when there's not a lot of people in this world that you can actually go to and who really understand the relationship dynamic, the pickup dynamic, the dating dynamic between men and women, and what we all respond to and emotionally respond to and want in relationships. And so it's really important when you love yourself and you respect yourself and you value yourself and what you have to offer somebody, that you really perceive yourself as being awesome, as being a gift and a blessing for that other person to have you in their life. And the key is, when you see the other person is not making that effort, that you back off enough, especially if you're guilty of over pursuing, so they can start reciprocating. Because a lot of guys are guilty of this, of doing too much chasing, of doing too much calling, of doing too much pursuing, of doing too much of trying to force themselves into their life. Like there was one of my clients that I talked to today. He was doing great for a while at re-attracting this girl that had dumped him. And then after a few months, he thought he had it all figured out. He kind of went back to his old ways that got him rejected initially. And what happened? Well, pretty much the same thing happened. He's still hanging out and hooking up with her occasionally, but most of the time, it's kind of like pulling teeth to get her to want to spend time with him. And because he started logically looking at the fact that he'd known this person and he'd been dating her off and on for a couple of years at this point, he's thinking, well, hey, Valentine's Day is coming up, so we should be spending Valentine's Day together. And so when he invited her to do something and she wanted to do it on a weekend, but he wasn't available, and then he says, well, how about Friday night? Obviously, Friday night was Valentine's Day. The thing was, she's dating other guys. And she said she couldn't do it, and she got mad, and he tried to force her to spend Valentine's Day by basically not giving her any kind of choice or any kind of leeway. And instead of just being realistic about the situation and realizing that his over pursuing her and the fact that he went back to all the ways that got him rejected in the beginning was what was causing this. And instead, he didn't end up spending Valentine's Day with her, and he ended up going out actually with another woman that he was seeing, which was great. But the whole problem was that he's put this woman on a pedestal, and even though the other women he's dating, he's able to exercise self-control. What's happening is he's putting this one girl that he really wants back on a pedestal, and the other women, he's doing everything right because he likes them, but he's not really that into them. And that's the key, is you got to be consistent. And what I was pointing out to him is that you've got all these other women that you're doing everything right with because you're not emotionally invested in them, and yet you got this one woman who you really like and you really want to have in your life more, and you're being extra nice to her, and you're kissing her ass, and you're going along with things that you normally wouldn't go along with. And so not only is this negatively impacting you with the woman that you really want, it can't help but not impact you with the other women that you're dating, and also the other women that you're meeting, because the bottom line is, deep down, you have people in your life that you're interacting with in a way where you're being too nice, and you're letting them walk all over you, and you're letting them take you for granted. And then when you see that they're not reciprocating, instead of backing off, what you're actually doing is trying to pursue more, and you're trying to force things more. And you're going to see some of those patterns in the email that I'm going to go through with this viewer here when we get to it. But before we get into his email, I got a quote that I wrote I want to share with you. And it says, when you love and respect yourself, you will notice when people who you are in relationship with are not making the same level of effort to make you feel loved and appreciated as you are them. The self-loving and self-respecting thing for you to do is to lovingly communicate through your words and actions that their lack of reciprocation is not acceptable. The quickest way to get someone's attention when they are taking you for granted or not appreciating you is to go spend your time with people who do appreciate and value you. That's another reason why I tell guys all the time, have other options with women. Have other women that you can go out with. And that way you don't fixate on one girl that you really like more than the others, because if you got other options in the back of your mind, it's kind of like a safety net. You know that you still got something else going on. In other words, you don't have as much to lose. And if you don't have as much to lose, you're more apt to stand up for yourself and do a better job, in essence, of negotiating with the other person to get what you want. Because in life, you don't get what you you don't get what you deserve, you only get what you negotiate. And so the quote continues on, when people treat you properly, you reward them with the continuing gift of your time. When they do not, they get to have the experience of missing you. See yourself as a gift and a blessing, and only spend your time with people who also see you as a gift and a blessing. Otherwise, giving the gift of your time and presence when it is not valued, appreciated, or reciprocated simply invites and enables more of the same behavior. So let's go ahead and get into his email. He's got a bunch of little scenarios here that he kind of goes through, like 7 different red flags that he noticed. Before he finally was just like, that's it, I've kind of told her to take a flying fucking roll in a donut, basically. So he says, hey coach, what happened was that I was investing more into this relationship than she was, and she wasn't taking responsibility in being in a relationship. Remember, she was the one that wanted to be in a relationship with me. But what you got to remember, and a lot of guys are guilty of this, is when a woman says, I love you, and then 6 months later when the relationship is on the rocks, they think, well, she told me 6 months ago that she loves me, so therefore that must still apply today. And that's where they go wrong. And this particular guy is saying, hey, it was her idea to be in this relationship, so obviously she's the one that wanted it wasn't me. But he's ignoring the fact that he's obviously done things and said things that's turned her off. And this is just one of the ways that we go about bullshitting ourselves and trying to avoid any responsibility for our own fuck-ups. So he says, this all happened in the span of 2 months. Red flag number 1. I bought tickets to a Broadway show for her birthday. This is back during around Christmas time, and it was meant to be a surprise, but I had to let her know ahead of time, over a month in advance, to be free on a particular weekend. She shut it down and said that she will be busy for work and house-related shit. Sounds like she really wanted to go with you. So I picked a day that was not part of the busy weekend and rescheduled the tickets and paid my fees and got it done. Notice how you're paying all these fees and you're jumping through your butt to buy these expensive tickets and go have this great evening, and she's just like, I'm busy. You have to reschedule. Oh, it's costing you money. Oh, that's really too bad. Well, you should have checked with me in the first place. He says she can't go that weekend either. What it really means is she really doesn't want to hang out with you. That's when you see that, when a woman has that kind of attitude, then you say, you know what? Great. I guess since I already got these tickets, I'm going to have to find somebody else to go with. So, hey, well, when your schedule frees up, give me a call and we can plan something then. That is how you nip that in the bud. When that shit happens, when a woman takes you for granted like that, that's when you back up and you say, give me a call. Just like I talked about. Give me a call when your schedule frees up. Because what's going on is she's taking you for granted at that point. She doesn't give a fuck about you. Now, the mistake is to continue doing things for her and continuing to put her on a pedestal instead of just backing up and stopping and saying, hey, you know what? The self-respecting and self-loving thing to do is to back off because she doesn't appreciate me. She doesn't value the fact that I spent this money and now I've rescheduled once already and now she's canceling again. Fuck her. I'm going to take somebody else. That needs to be your attitude. And go spend time with somebody else because she obviously ain't reciprocating it. but you have like a scarcity mindset, like, oh my God, I'm never going to meet another girl that I like this much. And then that you demean yourself by continuing to kind of act like a sucker, in essence, trying to convince her to hang out with you. So he says, during the month of January, I only saw her twice the whole month and had sex only once on her birthday, which we ended up staying in, when a month ago we were supposed to go see this show. Again, she really wasn't that excited. Twice in 1 month. She's not that into you. He says, red flag number 3. He says, she's canceled plans with me on more than one occasion. Well, when a woman cancels plans and she doesn't mention anything about rescheduling, then you just say, great, well, when your schedule opens up, get in touch with me and we'll plan something then. You got to stop all forward movement at that point. But again, you made a mistake and you continue pursuing at that point. And that's where you start to communicate to the woman that, yeah, you can pretty much walk all over me, blow me off, take me for granted, treat me like a piece of trash, and I'm going to keep coming back no matter what, going, thank you, may I have another? Red flag number 4. She never made time to visit me during the week, and sometimes we would go 2 weeks before we see each other. She doesn't do anything when she gets home but chill at home and watch TV with her parents. Again, another reason why you should just back off and wait to hear from her. But you didn't do that. This is what guys do. It's like, I'm going to get her to change her mind. I just got to do something. I got to come up with the right clever argument or the funny pickup line, or I got to create the ultimate date. You know, like you see in the movies, the guy puts all his time and energy in this spectacular date to try to convince a woman to go out with him. Red flag number 5, he says, I wanted to talk to her and see her last week because I was having a bad day. So you wanted her to be your mommy and your therapist. That's not what girlfriends and wives are for, dude. You should be, if you had a rough day, you should be talking to your buddies who will give you a pep talk and cheer you up and crying the blues in your beers, not going to your wife and expecting her to hold you and be your mommy, basically, and make you feel all better. Give you a cookie, maybe. He says she was short with me via text and not very talkative, probably because you were acting weak and acting like a woman. And I asked her if she could talk on the phone, and she tells me, can we do it tomorrow? I have something to do right now. Wow, she really wants to hang out with you. He says this was the beginning of the end. Again, you just kept pursuing. Red flag number 6. My mom wanted to have dinner with her, and I asked her to let me know when she was free over the next couple of weeks. She said she was busy and couldn't do it. In other words, you're not that important to me, and neither is your fucking family, and I really don't want to hang out and have dinner with you and your family because I don't give a shit about you. That's what her actions show. He says, I gave her shit for it. In other words, trying to twist her arm and make her feel guilty and use more logic and reason to win your argument and get nowhere. And she said that she felt pressured and she's feeling anxious. I was pissed and hung up. She texted me later that she would try to make some time within the next 2 weeks, but no promises. In other words, translation, hey, you know what? If over the next couple weeks I ain't got anything fucking going on, and I decide that the best thing that I could possibly be doing is hanging out with you and your family, I'll give you a call. Otherwise, you probably ain't going to hear from me, dude. That's basically what she meant. He says, red flag number 7, and the final one. He says, I ordered flowers for her to be delivered to her office on Valentine's Day. The flowers were delayed due to the weather, and I texted her to let her know that I had a surprise for her and had flowers arranged, but it got delayed to Monday. Then she calls me and asks, why did you get me flowers? You know I didn't want flowers delivered to my work. I don't know anyone there, and I don't want people to ask me about all that. He says, I was pissed and told her that I'm going to get off the phone, and then she says, I feel like we're not on the same page. You think? So in other words, you're kind of in friend zone. You're kind of like an occasional fuck buddy that, you just kind of annoyed the shit out of her with your needy, over-pursuing, weak kind of behavior. And that's what she's, in essence, communicating to you without trying to actually hurt your feelings and be blunt and brutally honest like I just was. But that's what I do. As a coach, I'm never going to blow sunshine up your ass. I'm always going to tell you exactly what's really going on because you need to see things as they are. Not better than they are, which you kind of have been doing, and not worse than they are, but simply as they are. And you've been totally blowing sunshine up your own ass, my friend. So he says, this is the beginning again. I told her that she's not putting in any effort into this relationship and she's not taking responsibility for it either. She said that she has a lot of things going on and she needs to do her own thing. In other words, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. You're not a priority to me. And he says, bullshit. If you care about someone, you can always make time. Correct. You're absolutely correct. And guess what? The reason she didn't make time because she didn't care. But this is what happens. You didn't know the fundamentals of my book. And so when she backed off, you kept pursuing more. And the more she backed off, the more you pursued, and the more you tried to force yourself into her life and to force her to feel the way she did in the past instead of letting her come to you like I talk about in the book. When I say you got to read my book 10 to 15 times, I mean it. I mean there's no shortcuts. And every day I talk to guys who tell me, no, I haven't read the book. I'm like halfway through it. Well, I've been following you for a year on YouTube. So what happens? It's completely unnecessary to be making these kind of mistakes. He says, I was ready to let her go and threw in the towel and asked if she wanted to break up. Never ask a woman that. She says, I don't know. We always know. He says, I told her that it seems like this isn't working out and she's not willing to put in the effort, then we should end it. She said that it was unfair for me and thought so as well. She said that she wanted to remain friends and talk. I told her that I can't do that. Friendships after a breakup rarely ever work and it'll be hard for me to move on. She didn't like the fact that I was going to disappear and I told her good luck and it was fun and I ended it there. He said, I have no regrets since I gave this my all and 100%. Well, you actually gave too much. You did too much. And I did what I could in this relationship, so I'm walking out with my head up because I deserve better. What do you think happened? Well, I think you over-pursued. And when she was cold and distant, instead of backing up and backing off and waiting to hear from her, you kept pursuing, thinking you could force yourself upon her, in essence, and force her to change her mind. It's got to be the woman's idea. You've got to let her come to you. And just like I talk about in my book, you call and you make one date per week. When she cancels a date on you and she doesn't bring up anything about rescheduling, then you simply say to her, hey, well, it sounds like your schedule is pretty jammed up right now, so when things free up for you and you want to get together, why don't you give me a call? We'll plan something then. Great. Awesome. I'll talk to you later. And then you walk and you never look back. That means you never call her. That means that's it. And what will happen is in a matter of days or a matter of a few weeks, she's going to realize that unless she picks up the phone and calls you, she's never going to hear from you again. And if she values you and she still has some care for you, she'll come back. And if she doesn't, if she doesn't care about you, she won't come back at all. You'll never hear from her again. But you got to be strong enough to do this. And if you're in a fearful place, if you're worried that you're going to lose her, and that's what's driving you to pursue, then I promise you eventually that's exactly what would happen. You will lose the girl. You will eventually over-pursue her to the point where you end up breaking up with her because she's not making any effort. But the bottom line is that when I see what this woman was doing over the course of 2 months, and then this guy just continues to kind of keep the hammer down and keep driving forward, thinking he's just going to plow right in and get her to go along with what he wants, all he ends up doing is becoming like a big bull in a china shop and wrecking things. And then at the end of the 2 months, she's lost all respect and care for you, and she doesn't really give a shit one way or another. How do I know? You only saw her twice in 1 month. And this past month, she really didn't want to see you at all. But like I said, the key is it's like a game of tennis. When you hit the ball over the fence, and then you notice the other person doesn't hit it back, and this goes for if you're a man or a woman, this also applies to your friendships. If the other person doesn't hit it back, then you got to wait for them to hit it back. If they don't hit it back, then it really doesn't matter. It's a moot point because you deserve to have people in your life who want to be there, who want you in their lives. But you demean yourself when you do things like this, when you continue to pursue and chase after somebody who's not reciprocating. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, if you love yourself and you respect yourself, you'll never fucking do anything like this. This is like, in a way, it's groveling. It's like you're groveling for her to spend time with you. Please, Your Highness, will you please grace me with your presence? It makes you look pathetically weak as a man and you never get anywhere. The good news is, at the end, when she pretty much didn't give a shit anymore, you ended things and you walked away, but it really never needed to come to that point. And so at this point, since you've walked away, you don't need to do anything. And if she calls you or reaches out, assume she wants to see you, and you try to make a date. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. That means she comes to your place. That means you don't meet her out, you don't do anything. Because when a woman shows you this level of non-interest, you're not going to do anything for her. If she wants to have a chance at earning you back, she's got to come to your place. She's got to bring a bottle of wine over, or coffee or tea, whatever you happen to drink, and hang out and have fun at your place, and obviously hook up. And then when she leaves, say, call me later. And you're not going to call her, you're not going to text her, you're not going to do anything. She needs to make all the effort because she's the one that took you for granted and let you walk out of her life. Therefore, she's going to have to be the one to walk back into your life and come grab your fucking ass and drag you down the romantic highway with her. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book phone, Skype, or email coaching, and you can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.